Damn. Yeah.
Radio Rahim with ABEL Sanchez wearing the colors of Joe Joyce.
Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut, a young heavyweight. Some people haven't heard of him yet, but I'm certain that many and most will very soon. You've dealt with so many champions. You've just been dealing with Triple G. There's no need to take on young guys except that you see something in them. What is it about Joe Joyce that made you say, this is a guy not only going to take on, but I'm really going to take under my wing?
First of all, I asked guys to come up to the camp for 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks to work with me to see if we're going to get along. And he came up for those 4 weeks. After the first week, I knew that I was going to work with him. I knew that I was going to work with him because of his effort, because of what he wants to do, because of his mentality of where he wants to get. He's not an Evander Holyfield. He's not a Muhammad Ali. He's more of a George Foreman, but he's a young man that's 33 years old. We're going to have to push rather quickly to get him to that point. By next year, hopefully we're fighting for some kind of title, but he's got skills. He's got desire. He's a silver medalist in the last Olympics, so all the things are there for him to be successful. Now it's just a matter of lining up the kind of fights that are going to develop us in the way we need to.
Now you know what it's like to have to push a guy who's a little older than expected, that you feel like has potential. Now, especially in the heavyweight division, there's a lot of money there, and people are positioning to get title shots. How do you put Joe Joyce in that running with so few fights and no record of box office bankability?
Well, I think his promoters and his advisor Al Heyman will have to pit him against guys that are in the top 5, top 10 to start knocking some of those guys off and get a deserving shot at a title. But he has to fight those guys that are up there. They have to take a chance. Not everybody's going to get a title shot right off the bat, so those guys that are waiting will have to fight it off, and I hope Joe is in that mix.
You know, a lot of the heavyweights that we know that are legends came from an era when everybody who was fighting either went to the Olympics, they were fighting when they were kids. They're not really transitioning out of other sports. The heavyweight division has definitely changed the kind of athletes that are there. How has training a heavyweight changed in this era from the ones that we know and love so much?
Well, obviously we don't have the time in this particular case to make him an Evander Holyfield or even a Larry Holmes with a great jab. We have to use more brute force with him, and his size will be intimidating the guys, but it's a matter of making sure that conditioning is a plus, because he may have to go longer rounds than most guys because of his inability, let's just say, to box like most of the guys that I just aforementioned. But he's got the athletic ability. He played rugby for about 4 or 5 years, and he boxed in the Olympics. He got a silver medal in the Olympics, so he's had somewhat of an amateur career. Now it's just a matter of getting the right fights and making sure that Joe does the things necessary to beat that particular fighter, and then when we get the next one, do the things necessary to beat that particular fighter. It won't be this polished Olympian heavyweight like we've seen in the past.
You know, Joe Joyce isn't a very young guy, but he's the new guy in the gym, and he's definitely getting some name recognition. But I imagine the gym still belongs to Triple G. That's still the home of your natty. What's it been like post-rematch with Canelo for Triple G and HBO dissolving? Like, it seems like it's going to be a transitional time. Is there some stability in his mind and his training? What's happening in his life and career right now?
You know, for a while after the first fight with Canelo, our camp, our group was very disappointed, and I think the fans have shown that's one of the reasons why HBO lost viewership. HBO dissolved, like you put it now. For some reason, they have this biased way of doing business, and the fans have noticed that. So I think that after the second fight, it was a matter of time. For us, it was disappointing, but you know what? We move on. There's other fights in our gym. There's other fighters in our gym. Gennady's still the mentor in our gym. Gennady's still the leader in our gym. But Gennady's on vacation and has been on vacation. He'll be back from boxing. That is, he'll be back at the beginning of the year, and Tom Loeffler and the attorneys and the advisors will sit down with him and us and myself, and Gennady will decide what he wants to do next. He will decide what he wants to do next, not anybody else.
Being a coach, promoters do the business, but I imagine the relationship between the coach and the fighter is something more special, a bit beyond that when it comes to moments like this. not allowing a vacation and disappointment to become maybe apathy and disillusionment. How do you keep his head in the game for a comeback and hopeful that he can still attain the goals he set out to accomplish?
You know, he's very professional. He's had 6, 7, 8 months off before. It's a matter of clearing his mind and spending time with the family, doing the things that we're all supposed to do as family men. He's doing that now. When he comes back in January and decides what he wants to do, trust me, he's going to be 100% in the gym. That's just the way he is. He's a very professional guy, and he wants things that are his, and he's going to go back and get them.
The middleweight division, obviously Canelo has the big contract, but he's not even fighting middleweight in his next fight. We saw Saunders. What's that?
How funny.
Well, okay, I'll let you. Why? Why do you think this is?
In retrospect, I can't make 160. I got to fight at 154. You know, all the things that were said before. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's fighting somebody. I'm happy that he's going for a record. That's good for him. Rocky Fielding is a young man that is much bigger than Canelo. 168-pounder. Unfortunately, got knocked out by Callum Smith, the WBSS eventual winner. So let's just hope that he puts up the kind of fight that gives Canelo a chance to shine.
What happens in the middleweight division with Saunders losing his title? I guess to a test, not in the ring, but now we've got some fresh faces in there. We've got Danny Jacobs now holding the title, who's back in the mix, who gave Triple G a good fight. But it also, I think, opens up some opportunities for Triple G to start collecting titles back and maybe getting an opportunity to still possibly unify. Just knowing the machinations of boxing and all the puzzle pieces that have to fit together, is there a road back for him?
You know, I'm happy that the WBO decided to do what they did in regards to the test, because I think that it's very important that all these guys at that level get tested. It needs to be a level playing field. Everybody's family deserves their men to come back home. And when there's an advantage like that, somebody can get hurt. As far as all the champions that are out there, who knows what Gennady decides in the middle of the month, next month. Tom will have everything laid out for him to what the possibilities are, and Gennady will make a decision. It's up to Gennady what he wants to do, and I think that the boxing world will conform along those lines to see what he wants to do. But if he decides that he wants to unify again, that's up to Gennady. But I think we'll take one fight at a time. I think I like to see him fight sometime in late April, early May, but the beginning of next year will tell.
Well, when your fight's over on Saturday night, you're going to have plenty of time to make it to a seat and watch the main event.
Yes.
As you well know, Freddie Roach has been a new addition to the corner, late addition as far as we've been informed. First of all, how do you think that affects Fury's corner? And what advantages does bringing a trainer in late give you, or disadvantages does it show when you add something that significant to your camp that late?
Tyson Fury was in my camp for 2 weeks. He decided to leave because he needed to be in LA, needed to have microphones in his face. Big Bear's a little desolate up there for him. But bringing Freddie in, Freddie's not his trainer. Ben is his trainer. Freddie came in as as an advisor. Freddie's mind and Freddie's knowledge will be very influential to Tyson. Tyson will do what Tyson wants to do. Freddie will, I'm sure, say things to Ben that he sees, and then Tyson will try to implement them, or maybe not. But that's not his problem. That's not Tyson's problem. The corner. Tyson's problem is across the ring, and Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, I've always said that anybody he hits with the right hand flush will go to sleep for a couple of weeks. Tyson has to fight a perfect fight. Tyson has to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes like he did against Steve Cunningham, or else Deontay hits him with that right hand and it's lights out. But by saying that, I still think that it can be a decision. It can be a controversial decision, maybe even a draw, because Tyson has the skills and the ability, for a big man that he is, to take advantage of that and make Deontay miss and frustrate him, and all those things that Tyson has a habit of doing to opponents.
You talk about that big right hand, and obviously you're no stranger to cultivating power, but you're also a very technical type trainer. I've seen it firsthand, and the knock on Wilder has always been his technique is just mind-boggling, if you even call it that.
You know what? I think that you have to look prior to him hurting somebody. prior to him hurting somebody, you see Mark Whelan in there. You see Mark Whelan doing some of the things that Mark Whelan used to do. You see him technical. You see him getting distance. You see him throwing a good jab. When he hurts somebody, it's when he goes nuts. He just likes. I think he just likes to have fun. But I think the people mistake once he hurts somebody with the fact prior to him hurting somebody. He's hurting somebody because he set it up, because that talent is there, and Mark Whelan's bringing it out. What he tends to do after that, he does look kind of amateurish, but look, he's having fun.
You know, a guy who really likes to hurt people and has had quite a bit of success doing it will be facing Mikey Garcia very soon. Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia is a fascinating fight. We don't have to say anything about their skill sets, both being talented, skilled fighters, but the weight differential has everybody worried.
Yeah.
Can Mikey overcome that? Is it even the obstacle that we think it is?
You know, coming out of the Olympics, I said that Errol Spence and Marcus Brown were my favorite pro fighters, that they were going to be some great fighters. Marcus has had some difficulties at home, but Errol has exceeded anything that I thought he would do. To me, he's the cream of the crop right now at 147. Mikey is a heck of a fighter, 135, 140 maybe. He's a great fighter, but the size difference, Errol walks around at 180. You know, and that's a big man. And but saying that, I was talking to Mikey's father, Eduardo, and Eduardo seems to see something. And Eduardo's a very smart boxing man. If he sees something, we may have a hell of a fight on that night.
Let's say he does see something, because I think Mikey's a smart guy. He wouldn't go in there, you know, half-cocked. What do you see in Errol Spence's game or his technique beyond Mikey that can be improved? Are there cracks there that you see?
You know what? I think his coach is doing a magnificent job, faster than I thought he could get to this point. I think that they're what may be missing is fights like this against guys like this. 3 or 4 fights from now, there's nobody going to stand up to him. Seriously, Terrence and him need to get together now. Just like when Canelo fought Mayweather fought him at a young age when Canelo was still very green. If there's a knock on Errol right now, is that he is kind of green. He hasn't had those fights against those good guys. But this kind of fight not only will give him experience, but will give him that mental edge that, shit, I can beat anybody, man. And 2 or 3 or more of these fights, and Errol's going to be tough to beat.
And lastly, Coach, with what I call the dissolution of HBO boxing, it gave some free agents, Triple G being one, but in a fantasy world, in a perfect world, if you could add one guy to your camp, there's one guy that you thought out there that you could do the most for or have the most talent that you could cultivate, young or old, who would it be?
No, I got both of those guys in camp right now. That's I have 2 heavyweights. That's Joe Joyce and a young man named Guido Vianello, who makes his pro debut on a top-ranked card on the 8th in New York. They're both 6'7". They're both about, Joe is about 270, Guido's about 250. But I have the guys that I want right now. I think that we need to concentrate on the men we have in camp and try to do the best with them. There's a lot of great fighters out there with some very good coaches that I love to watch, Errol being one of them. I look forward to seeing his development, but I like the guys that I have in camp right now.
Well, we look forward to seeing the development of Joy Joyce on Saturday night. I can't wait to see what you do with him in camp and in the ring on Saturday night. Radio Rahim with ABEL Sanchez.
Thank you very much.